Hey everybody, Peach here, and today we're going to be building a wall-mounted Nordic curl. Now, if you're new to performing Nordic curls, I recommend that you also check out my Nordic curl hacks video right here, where I show you a couple of ways to do this exercise without any power tools. Now, full disclosure, instead of DIYing, you could just buy. However, the only inexpensive option that I could find, which wasn't strap-based, is this guy right here. It's cheaper than the DIY project we're building today. However, this is why I still made this DIY project. If you look, the pads are kind of crappy. It looks like they'll slip right off those bars, and you don't want that happening when you're performing the exercise. And lastly, there's only one height setting. Wherever you set that bracket, that's all you got, okay? So the thing we're gonna make today, it's gonna have good pads, they're gonna be secured on the bar, and we can set it at different heights. One for deficits, one on the ground. All right, enough talk. Let's get on with the DIY project. All right, step number one, we're gonna take a 1/2-inch T-connector and we're gonna attach two 10-inch long 1/2-inch plumbing nipples, just like so. All right, next step, and this is completely optional. I'm gonna put 3/4-inch conduit couplings, and I'm gonna put them right here, and these are gonna act as spacers because, as you will see in a moment, the pads that I selected aren't quite long enough, so these will keep everything snug. Okay, next step, now we're gonna add washers, and these washers have a 7/8-inch hole, and they're 2.25 inches wide. These will protect our pads from wear and tear on the edges. Just like that. Now let's talk about pads. So I actually bought my pads, and I got them from Amazon, link down below to buy your own, and I think that these are awesome. They look great, and because I wanted to make sure I'm doing these all the time, I wanted to make them look nice, okay? If they look like crap, I probably won't be doing this exercise as much, okay? So invest in some good pads, but if you want to make your own pads, I suggest a pool noodle, and get a good pool noodle, a really dense one, okay? Link below to buy it, okay? Now, don't go to the dollar store, don't go to Five Below. Their pool noodles are not dense enough, in my opinion. Also, don't get plumbing insulation, okay? This stuff also not dense enough. All right, so let's add our pads. Now slide on just like this, okay? They're 8 inches long. Okay, now on this end, we're gonna add another washer, and then we're gonna add a 1/2-inch nipple cap. Okay, and the other side. All right, now we're gonna add a 6-inch long plumbing nipple, and we're gonna put it right here. And finally, we're gonna add a 1/2-inch floor flange. And now we are ready to mount it. Now we need to ensure that when we mount this, that we're securing the flange to a wall stud. And I'm actually gonna be attaching mine to my DIY barbell rack, which is made out of 2x4s and which is attached to a wall stud using lag screws. Okay, so to see how I built my barbell rack, go ahead and watch that video right there. Now, to determine how high we're gonna mount this thing on my barbell rack, I need to determine two things first. Number one, what pad are you gonna use, okay? Because the thicker the pad, the higher you're gonna mount it, okay? And this is the balance pad that I got off of Amazon. I've featured this in many videos in the past, and this is available via the link down below. It's the perfect density, okay? So get a good pad. Also, the second thing you need to determine is, do you want a deficit between you and the floor so that you can overload the eccentric portion of the movement by holding a weight plate and then being able to release it before the concentric portion of the movement? So, to do this, I am simply going to place my balance pad on this guy right here. And if you've been watching the channel, you know what this is. This is the foot plate for the Omega arms, as well as a bunch of other things. It's also a slant board, for example. And the tutorial to make this guy is available right there. Okay, so before we mount, I'm also gonna mount this, okay? Now these are footplate boards that will help me press my feet against these boards and protect my walls from damage. And this is completely optional, okay? So what I did here is I took some 2x8 lumber and I used my circular saw and I made a 45-degree angle cut on the top there just for aesthetics. And then on this end, on the back, I cut out a notch so that I can accommodate my baseboards on my wall right here. Now to learn how I use my miter saw to cut out these notches, again, check out that DIY barbell rack video right there, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna mount both of these guys. Now you might be thinking, why are they so long? Well, these are 41 inches long, which is overkill for this project, but it's perfect for my upcoming top secret project. So be sure to subscribe to the channel to be alerted the moment that that top secret project drops. Now, can you guess what it is? Drop your guess down in the comments below. Okay, so now we're gonna mount them alongside my barbell rack. And since I don't have any studs there, I'm gonna be using drywall anchors. So I got one here and one here. All right, so we got it mounted to the wall, and now we're gonna add some anti-slip tape, and yes, there is a link down below to purchase. So, just peel and stick, and that's all there is to it. All right, looking good. Now let's do the other one. All right, voila, and now we're ready to mount. All right, now we're ready to mount to the wall. So if you don't want a deficit, place your kneeling pad on the floor and kneel on it. Then we're gonna take this and we're gonna place that floor flange against the 2x4 and put the pads on top of your ankles. Like so. Now put your butt on the pads and sit on it. This will compress the pad slightly and lower it just a little bit. Then we're gonna take a pencil, and it's hard to film this, but I'm going behind my back and I'm gonna trace the position of the floor flange. Just the top, you don't have to do the whole floor flange. Okay, and now I know the exact height to mount this floor flange. All right, so I traced right here. So I know that I'm gonna be placing this floor flange right at this height. So what I'm gonna do now is trace the holes in the floor flange. See the holes? And I'm gonna trace the holes onto the 2x4, and then we're gonna pre-drill, and then we're gonna add our screws. All right, so we got that in place, and now we can execute the movement without a deficit. However, I want the option of using a deficit sometimes and not using a deficit sometimes. So I'm going to actually install a second floor flange right here and repeat these same steps so that I can do it with a deficit. All right, last step. Now, if I want to attach to the top floor flange to do Nordic curls with a deficit, I have enough clearance to just easily add it like so, okay? It'll just screw right on, okay? Now, on the bottom though, I don't have enough clearance, okay? It's gonna hit the ground before it can make a full revolution. So, what we're gonna do there is, I'm gonna have to actually disassemble this thing. okay? And then I can add it and then reassemble it. So, now of course you could go shorter than 10-inch long nipples and that would solve the problem, but I like having the extra length there. And voila, we're ready to exercise. Now, one nice feature about using my DIY barbell rack for this is I can easily add bands to these hooks here, and that will help aid me in my progression towards doing this unassisted. But for now, I'm using bands to assist me. So, all I do is hook on right here, get into position, and then you can either hold on to the band or you can put it under your armpits and exercise. All right, the wall-mounted Nordic Curl, a great addition to any home gym. Now, for more details on this project, please visit designbuildlift.com. And if you need any of the supplies needed to make today's project, please consider shopping for those products via the links down in the video description below. Shopping via these links costs you nothing extra, and it helps support the channel. All right, that does it for this project, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next project. So, be sure to subscribe to the channel to be alerted the moment the next project drops.